Welcome back. Deputy Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Steve Letsike, intends to summon podcaster Macgyver MacG Mukwevho to report to the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee. Letsike was apparently disgusted by the derogatory remarks made by Mukwevho against media personality Minnie Dlamini on his podcast and Chill platform. Letsike joins us now for more on this. DM, a very good morning to you and thank you so much for joining us. Now, in a statement that you put out, you said the comments are nauseating in their vulgarity and they must be regarded as an unconstitutional violation of Ms. Dlamini's rights. How do you view this incident within the broader context of online gender-based violence?
Thank you so much, Katleho, and good morning to the viewers. You know, Katleho, I think if we're going to really end gender-based violence, we must end it where it starts. It shouldn't be ended when action such as rape or murder takes place. I'm regarding this because last year in November, together with the Human Science Research Council, we have released a report that have actually shown high levels of gender-based violence incident, but where they also emanate because we've normalized soft violence, we've normalized emotional, online, and various other nuances of violence, and we don't prevent it, we don't stop it. And this is why, actually, when you listen to Mr. Mukwevho's utterances, which has always been a problem in the public, there's an outcry, such as many other platforms that have joined. So that's why we're coming out to say, part of ending gender-based violence is where it starts.
So, DM, I mean, there's this ongoing debate about boundaries between free speech and hate speech. How does your ministry approach this delicate issue?
You see, in our national strategic plan, we've highlighted the importance of, looking at the role of various institutions, various individuals, and even companies or platforms. There's no doubt South Africa is a country with a rule of law. Free speech, media freedom, and many other are entitled to it. But as long as we are understanding of our responsibilities and our role in it, part of which also highlights that we must not actually undermine the Constitution. And in this regard, where an individual's dignity has been stripped off, or where an individual has been undermined and there's a use or utterance that actually hides behind the definition of free speech, this is where we will have to then take an acid test of what actually constitutes dignity, even in cases of free speech.
So you intend to summon Mr. Mukwevho to Parliament. What do you hope to achieve with this?
In fact, I am not intending to summon. My statement from the department that we released yesterday was very clear. We refer matters of this nature to the portfolio committees. And two committees we've highlighted. One, it's a portfolio committee on women, youth and persons with disability. And second one is also on technology communication. One, Parliament has its own responsibilities, its own powers and privileges. And we actually have highlighted its own privileges where it can summon individuals. And if they refer to Chapter 5 of Parliament's privileges, in this case, where you can actually summon people, they can actually be calling Mr. Mukwevho to doing so. Those powers are within portfolio committees themselves. Ours as executive is to really ensure that we implement the national strategic plan. The president have called the public to actually play its role, a whole of society. And a whole of society, it includes all arms of states, including Parliament themselves, but it also includes the very same platform as Mr. Mukwevho, which is the podcast itself, where it must help us end gender-based violence, including those of online abuses. So what we are calling for is that Parliament must exercise its own privileges.
You speak about this podcast, and I'm sure regulation around media is not necessarily within your ministerial ambit, but content on traditional national television and radio is often guided by the rules and regulations of the BCCSA.
Correct.
And we find that not so much with podcasts. How are you intending possibly to maybe start shifting that conversation in how these podcasts are curated, but also in such a way that, one, the morality of South Africans is kept intact and we're not seeing cases of online GBV like we are in this situation?
Indeed, you are quite correct, because in fact, with law, you constantly have to improve it. You must regard it as a working document. And this is why we've made a clarion call to the Portfolio Committee on Communication and Digital Technology. We're going to do the same to my colleague, which is in the Department of Communication and Digital Technology, because we need to ramp up legislation that blusters and identifies the gaps to enforce accountability. And where in the case of MacG, the podcast is also not limited just to the streaming. It also is also being shown on TV and so forth. And this is why we also apply the standards of the BCCSA to say that if we are going to protect women, when you look at regulations completely in comprehension, you are not only just going to look at criminal procedure or civil matter, you actually look at standards, norms, as well as regulation that can be applied to help us prevent further perpetuation of violence, further utterance that undermines our constitution, but also further protection that will also respond to the needs of people of our country. Protection, yes, is in the law, and the legislations must be enforced in comprehension.
Lastly, DM, how can citizens contribute to creating just a culture of respect and accountability, especially online?
Indeed, I think, when I have looked at this issue, we have seen a rise of, various civil society, organized communities, churches, faith-based organization, but society general, who has raised concerns about gender-based violence. And reality of the matter, we shouldn't wait for rape to occur or murder to occur. Now, citizens' role is around education and awareness, and part of our own response. Our own government has implemented the NSP, but has also introduced the immediate 90-day plan through the JCPS cluster, led by Minister of South African Police Service as well as Minister of Justice, where all of us are coming together to say there are immediate actions that we will take, including the one that I'm leading now, in terms of responding to gender-based violence. But what we need for our own South Africans, let's empower ourselves, let's speak out. Let's not also normalize when things are wrong, because when we normalize them, they actually lead us to actions that are unintended and that have severe consequences. But also part of it is that when we occupy spaces of power, like the MacG podcast, that's a space of influence. Let's use it in a positive manner that builds society and coherence in our communities.